Welcome back to my kitchen, friends. If you are new, my name is Becky, and today we have a fun day ahead of us. We are making 5 Christmas fudges. Last December, Josh's grandma passed away, and she was famous for her Christmas fudge, and she did not make Christmas fudge last year. About a year or so before she passed, she gave me a huge, maybe it was 2 years ago, a huge stack of her recipes. And I did not realize until after last Christmas that she gave me her Christmas fudge recipe. So this year, I am bound and determined that we are not going to go another year without Grandma Ruth's fudge recipe. Now, I thought, if we're going to already be making fudges, there's a couple other fudge recipes that I have seen float around online for years, and I want to give them a try as well. So we are going to practice Grandma Ruth's fudge recipe today. We're going to do a taste test at the end with Josh to see if I was able to nail her recipe. Now, I was a little unsure about what some of the directions and ingredients were. And on her recipe, she said Fannie Mae's fudge. So I went ahead and Googled Fannie Mae's fudge, and this is a famous recipe. So I was able to find the actual written recipe along with her recipe card online. So I'm going to link all of these fudge recipes we're going to make today down below if you want to try making Christmas fudge yourself. So I'm really excited to be able to kind of bring this tradition back to Josh's family. So we're going to make that first. The recipe I have seen float around online for years that I've never made is a 2-ingredient fudge, extremely easy. So we're going to make that one too. I thought it would be fun to try making an eggnog fudge, a peppermint fudge, and a maple pecan fudge. Now I realize that I gave all my pecans to my mom when we were doing some Thanksgiving prep. So we're gonna substitute walnuts. So it's gonna be a walnut maple fudge, and I think it's gonna be just as delicious. Every year I make up big Christmas candy and cookie boxes, and I drop them off at my friends and family's houses. And this is just the start of hopefully a lot more Christmas candy baking you and I are gonna be doing together. Now, I did read these recipes, and each one calls for a little bit different shape baking dish. These 3 call for a 9x9 or 9x8. I don't have enough of those, so I just bought some foil pans. We're gonna line everything with some parchment paper so that I can reuse these. These are just gonna be basically our molds. And before I even get started, I figured I would get my pans ready. Some of these recipes are stovetop fudge recipes. Some of them are microwave recipes, and they all just seemed relatively easy. And I thought it would be fun to start our Christmas baking with fudge. There was 2 things Josh's grandma always made every year, and it was fudge. She was famous for her fudge, her chocolate chip cookies, and banquette. But I've made banquette lots of times. Even with you, it's a Dutch pastry. So today we're gonna learn how to make fudge. I'm gonna start with Grandma Ruth's recipe because this one says that it needs to set for the longest amount of time. So because I wanna cut into each one of these and do a taste test with each one of these with you all, we're gonna start with the one that's going to take the most amount of time. Plus, I want to be as sharp when I make Grandma Ruth's fudge as possible so that hopefully it turns out delicious. Out of all the recipes, this one looks like it's the most, I don't want to say complicated, but it has the most ingredients in it. And I do need to weigh out some of the chocolate because the recipe calls for 12 ounces. And with I think shrinkflation, 1 bag, because it says 1 bag of chocolate, 12 ounces. 1 bag is not 12 ounces anymore. So I did pull my scale out just so that I can make sure I have my proportions right. When making candy, it's super important that you have your ratios correctly. And this right here is milk chocolate. So we're going to use a combination of milk chocolate and some unsweetened 100% cocoa, which is going to be good to help kind of balance some of this sweetness. And I know that each one of these little, well, I think we need 2 ounces. And each one of these little squares is 1/4 ounce, it says. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna weigh it and just make sure. Yep, that's exactly 2 ounces right there. When I'm reading Grandma Ruth's directions, they're a little bit different than the one I found online. Grandma Ruth says boil sugar, milk, butter, vanilla for 2 minutes. Stir in marshmallows until dissolved. Then add chocolate, stir until melted, and pour into a greased jelly roll pan. Cool and slice. This recipe says to measure out everything into a separate bowl and pour this mixture into here. I don't know if it matters either way. I'm sure either way would work. But because this is Grandma Ruth's recipe, well, she obviously got it from Fannie Mae. I think Fannie Mae is a famous candy company, and this is kind of like their copycat fudge recipe. I am gonna make it the way Grandma Ruth has it written in her own handwriting. Ooh, I was posting on Instagram that I was doing this today, and I was getting a little bit emotional about it. It's something super special that she gifted me her recipe cards. We need 25 regular size marshmallows, and it says do not use the mini ones. 2, 4, 6, 8, 24, 25. So here is our ingredients here. I think I'm just gonna pull out my vanilla to remind myself to use that. And now we can measure out our milk and our sugar. I think milk, sugar, and butter. Crisis averted. I just reread my recipe and I opened up milk chocolate. This is supposed to be semi-sweet chocolate because I'm about to measure out a ton of sugar. And I was thinking, we don't need that much sugar if we're using milk chocolate. So I'm glad I read that recipe. Let me put this into a different bowl. And now we're going to measure out the correct chocolate here. Oh, and this bag was exactly 12 ounces. So I only needed 1 bag of these semi-sweet chocolate chips. Perfect. So now to our pot that we're gonna add to the stove, I'm gonna add 1 cup of butter, 4 cups of granulated sugar. And this is why I was thinking milk chocolate would be too sweet with this. So that makes more sense. That was 4, and 1 cup of milk. This is gonna come up to a boil, and we're gonna boil this for 2 minutes. While this is coming up to a boil, I'm gonna take the time to read through the next recipe I'm gonna start, which is gonna be the 2-ingredient fudge. This is gonna come together so quickly. Yes, and this is a microwave recipe. So we're gonna go from the one with the most ingredients. Now, this recipe does not have a temperature on it. Some of the other recipes say when we're boiling them, we need to get this sugar milk mixture. It's different ratios of different ingredients when we get to other recipes, but it actually has a temperature on it. I kind of wish this one did, because when you are making candy and you're boiling sugars, it's super important to know what temperature you get it to, because that can change the way it sets. Now, this recipe doesn't come with temperature, so we're just gonna go with it. We're gonna boil it once it comes to, I'm assuming kind of like a pretty intense boil. We'll boil it for 2 minutes. But some of the other recipes are a little bit more precise with giving actual temperatures we bring them to. And then like the next one is super easy. We're literally just microwaving chocolate basically. But I do want to take some time because this is going to take a minute to come up to a boil to read through the rest of my recipes. I would normally recommend before you start a candy baking day or a cookie baking day or whatever it might be, read through all your recipes first. I don't always have the time to do that. So a lot of times I'll find myself in the kitchen at a step like this where I don't really want to walk away from it. I want to kind of keep a close eye on it, but I can actually sit here and give myself the time to read through my recipes. This is starting to bubble. I am going to take my pastry brush and wipe the edges down. I don't know if this is true for fudge, but when it comes to caramels, the sugar crystals on the edge of the pot can affect the way caramels set, and I'm worried that it could be the same for fudge. This recipe does not say to do this, but just going with my other cooking knowledge, I'm gonna take this pastry brush with some water on it, dissolve those sugar crystals, make sure those dissolve into the pot so that when my fudge sets, it won't be gritty or grainy. So you don't need to do this step, I don't think, but I'm gonna do it just to be safe. Then I wanna give this a stir, and I'm gonna start my 2-minute timer when I can see that I can't stir away the bubbles. So do you think that looks good? I'm sure many of you out there are proficient fudge makers. I want to be a proficient fudge maker, so we'll get there together. But I'm going to call that now bubbling, and I'm going to set my timer for 2 minutes. Now when you're making candies, it's really important to have a heavy bottom pot. So this is a very high quality stainless steel pot. I can link my favorite cooking equipment down below, but you don't have to have this exact brand, just as long as you have a really heavy bottom pot where the thickness is not just on the bottom of the pot, but it's good for it to come up the sides so it has good heat retention and you're less likely to have scorching. And I did turn this down just a little bit. Well, that's my timer, so I'm going to turn the heat off. Grandma Ruth says to add the marshmallows in first. Melt those. The heat is off at this point, and once our marshmallows are fully dissolved, then we'll add the next ingredient. And vanilla. Well, I'm rereading my recipe, and we needed not just the semi-sweet chocolate, but we did need that milk chocolate. So I read that right the first time. We needed both. So we needed 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate and 12 ounces of milk chocolate and 2 ounces of the unsweetened chocolate. That looks much better. Didn't seem like quite enough chocolate to sugar, butter, and milk ratio. And I like that Grandma Ruth's recipe recommends to keep everything in this pot because this pot is retaining a lot of heat, so it's melting everything really well, versus if we transferred it into this pot, it would start to cool down much faster. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Putting those 3 different types of chocolate in there, not just 2. There we have it. Grandma Ruth's fudge is done. That was relatively easy. I only almost messed it up twice, but I think we're okay. So I'm gonna set this aside. That needs to cool for at least 3 hours before we can cut into it and Josh can give a taste test. So this next recipe is so incredibly easy. I'm gonna get this soaking because we're gonna need this again. I think I put a little too much spray on there, so I'm gonna take some parchment that we're going to use for a different recipe. And just go like that. And now I have 2 parchments greased. Put this in here. This recipe is going to come together so fast that I want this completely ready to go before I even start it. The only two ingredients we need for this recipe are one 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. I think this is a 14-ounce can. Yep. I'm gonna get a spatula out. I'm gonna be sure to get all of that goodness out of this can. And this can even has a picture of fudge on the top. So I actually thought that there might be a fudge recipe on the back of this can's label. So on one of these cans, I actually took the label off to see if there was a fudge recipe on the back, and there's not. But that just goes to show that you could make fudge with sweetened condensed milk. This recipe calls for semi-sweet chocolate chips. I double, tripled, and quadruple checked to make sure that was correct. And we need 4 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a half cup measure. 5, 6, 7, 8. For something like this, I do prefer weights just to make sure I do the correct amount, but I'm going with this recipe. So now all we have to do is stick this in the microwave. I don't know if you can see here, but we are making way more this year's worth of candies than just these 5 fudges. I have a whole staging area for about 8 other candy recipes we're gonna do this year that are gonna be really fun. Last year, I planned to do this huge candy extravaganza, but I ended up getting pneumonia for 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, and so I never got to it. So this year, I'm bound and determined we are making all of these candies I planned to make last year. But we're gonna start with the fudges today. So I have my sweetened condensed milk, my semi-sweet chocolate chips in here. I'm gonna microwave this for about 45 seconds and then stir. And then I'll microwave it again for 45 seconds and stir. That's one 45-second round. You definitely don't want to overcook it. So I'm going to make sure to stir it really well between bouts in the microwave. 3rd round. Okay, I think that's melted. This is already firming up. The consistency seems a little bit off on this, but that's what it said to do. I don't think I overcooked it. Get all this into our pan. You know, I don't want this thick of fudge. I'm gonna put it in one of my 9x9s. I have seen this fudge recipe go around online for years, and you saw how easy that was. So we'll see what the texture's like, the flavor, and the consistency compared to Grandma Ruth's fudge. Now, one thing I appreciate about this recipe is that when you're mixing the ingredients, it says that the mixture is gonna look matte and thick, which is exactly what was happening, and I was getting a little bit worried about it, so then I reread my recipe, and it said that that's what's supposed to happen. So I feel better about that. So we have 2 of our 5 fudges done. That fudge probably took me less than 4 minutes because literally I just measured out chocolate chips, opened a can of milk, mixed it together, put it in there. So let's see, do we want to do maple, peppermint, or eggnog next? The eggnog one is sitting on top, so let's go ahead and do this one. And this is a white chocolate-based fudge as opposed to a dark chocolate or semi-sweet chocolate-based fudge. We already have the pan ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and get all of these ingredients measured out. I went ahead and I washed out my heavy bottom pot. I do have more than just this one, but because I was able to rinse or get this pot soaking when the fudge was still hot, it rinsed out really, really well. And this one looks really easy too. So far, all these recipes seem relatively easy. We don't need this chocolate anymore. What I do want to do is get my ingredients all measured out. This recipe also calls for, my measuring spoon's right here, cups, not a weight of chocolate. So we need 2 cups of white chocolate, which is 1 11-ounce bag plus a little bit of another bag. And then this recipe calls for marshmallow fluff as opposed to regular marshmallows. And none of these fudge recipes are recipes like you see when, well, I don't know. I live pretty close to the Oregon coast, and fudge shops are very popular there. And when they make fudge, they put it onto a big marble slab, and they mix it and mix it and mix it and mix it for hours and hours and hours. None of these fudges that we're going to be making require that level of labor or mixing. I think part of that is due to a lot of them call for marshmallow, and that's kind of the way you can get away with getting a fudgy consistency without all of that labor. That's 2 cups of granulated sugar. Part of what makes this an eggnog fudge is that we're actually going to be adding eggnog to it. Now, when it comes to Christmas, I usually make homemade eggnog once a year, but I didn't want to make homemade eggnog for this recipe. So I just bought one that looked delicious, and we need 3/4 of a cup. So instead of milk, we're going to use eggnog. I'm going to add some vanilla to our marshmallow, so that's already pre-measured out. I'm going to set this over here. I'm going to grab my pre-greased parchment paper, and now we're ready to go. One more ingredient we need. We need grated nutmeg to garnish, so I'm going to grab out my microplane and my nutmeg so that I can get this on as soon as our fudge is ready. Now you might be able to see on my table there, I have some boxes out. When I have all of my candy making done, I'm going to box all this up in a cute little box, put a cute little ribbon on it, and I drop candy and cookies off at loved ones' houses. Now this year I'm not doing Christmas cookies in these boxes in particular. I'm doing just candies. And today we're starting with the fudge. Now this fudge recipe does call for a temperature. We need to get this fudge to, I think, 234 degrees. So I'm gonna use my favorite candy thermometer with this huge digital face. I can link this down below for you. I have gone through 3 of the old-fashioned candy thermometers, and I never liked them because they were hard to read. This one's amazing. It's inexpensive, and I absolutely love it. I love it because I can see the face of the thermometer when I'm across the kitchen because it's that big. Now this time I didn't get a bunch of sugar on the outside of my pot, so I don't think I need to scrape it with my pastry brush, or maybe I will. We are at 2 minutes right now, and we're 4 degrees away from 234. So that 2-minute mark after it starts to boil seems to be a pretty good benchmark there. And I don't know if you can see, but this screen is so big. So we've got 1.5 degrees left to go, and then I can turn the stove off. So far, these fudges have been really easy. I think I've only ever made fudge 1 or 2 other times than this. It always felt a little intimidating to me, and that's one thing I like about when I do these days where I just make like 5 or 4 of something, is that it takes kind of the stressfulness or the mystery out of recipes, and these all seem really easy. So we are officially at 234 right now. So I'm going to take this out. I turned my stove off. We're going to mix in our marshmallow fluff. Now this does melt a lot faster than regular marshmallows, which makes sense because it's not as firm as a marshmallow. Mix in my white chocolate chips. Now, one thing none of these recipes call for is salt, and you know me and baking. I do like to add salt to my candies and cookies. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that stove is off so nothing scorches. But I am following these recipes. I can't help it. I've got to add some salt to this because this is just going to be, that's too big of salt crystals. I just worry this is going to be too sweet. But I also don't know what salt will do to the consistency of fudge, so I'm not going to do it. If you are a fudge maker, let me know if you add salt to your fudge. The consistency of this fudge is super silky and beautiful. But one thing I'm noticing with all these fudge recipes is they set up quick. So you got to move quick. I love eggnog. And my favorite part is the fresh nutmeg on the top. So I definitely didn't want to miss that step. So now we have our third recipe done. I'm gonna get these next two pans ready to go. Okay, there we go. I did not quite put as much spray on these two. After thinking about it and looking up some recipes, I decided that we're gonna skip the maple pecan fudge and we're gonna make brown butter fudge. I made this, I think 2 years ago, and my sister-in-law loved it, and she's one of the people that I am bringing these fudges to. My sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, Josh's brother and his wife, and their kiddos. And so I happen to have all the ingredients I need for it. I needed some evaporated milk, which I have. I needed a jar of marshmallow fluff. I happen to have an extra one of those downstairs. So we can get this recipe made, and I know that this one is delicious because it's the same one I made 2 years ago. So the first thing we're gonna do in our pot, again, a heavy bottom pot, I have 3/4 cup of butter, and we're gonna brown that. If you've never had brown butter before, it's delicious and it's easy. When you're browning butter, it's the milk proteins that you're actually browning. And if you do it in a dark bottom pan, it's hard to see when they're brown. So a light pan is best. So that's gonna take a couple minutes. So while that is melting and browning, I'm gonna go ahead and measure out the rest of our ingredients. And this recipe calls for 2 cups. You could weigh out all the ingredients. This recipe happens to have weights on all the ingredients, but because I've been using cups for the rest of them, I'm just going to continue to use cups. I'm gonna get my ingredients measured out. So 1 bag or 11 ounces of white chocolate is a little less than 2 cups. It's kind of a scant 2 cups. So it definitely would be more precise to weigh this out, but we're just gonna go with it that way. I will link the brown butter recipe and the maple one in case that's something you wanted to make, since I mentioned it earlier. I just didn't have all the ingredients. And then we need 3/4 cup of evaporated milk. And then we need 2 cups of white sugar, 3 cups of white sugar. But I'm not going to measure that out until, well, I guess I can. I was gonna say I'm not gonna measure it out till my butter's brown, but I can just get another bowl out and have that ready. I don't wanna put it in with my chocolate chips because they go in at different times. 2. 3. And then we need some vanilla. And I'm gonna put that again in with my marshmallow fluff. The peppermint recipe that we're gonna be making is another microwave one, which I did not realize. So that's why I figured I would get this one going next, because it's a little bit more labor intensive. And then our peppermint one is gonna go so quickly. We'll do that one last. Okay, so all of our ingredients are out. That's gonna take another couple minutes to brown. So I'm gonna clean up my mess. I've got some garbage over here. Our pan is already ready for the fudge once it's made, so we don't have to worry about that. So you can see it's starting to brown a little bit right there, but we're not quite toasty enough yet. Okay, that's looking pretty brown. So I'm gonna add our sugar. And our milk. And now we're gonna cook this until it reaches 134. So 134 must be the temperature for making fudge. This smells incredible already. I love brown butter. It's so flavorful. It almost has like a butterscotchy taste to it. This is gonna take a bit of time to come up to temperature. So while this is coming up to temperature, I am going to grab my candy thermometer. I'm gonna get this in here. And this does have Celsius and Fahrenheit. Obviously, I'm working with Fahrenheit, but if you are needing Celsius, you can just switch between the two. And now I'm gonna set up for our peppermint fudge while this continues to cook. And I've got my other 3 ingredients here ready to go. I have to show you my dogs right now. Don't mind the little bit of mess I have on the counter over there. You think they're best friends? That's Tibro and Dakota. Dakota's the little dog. They are 9 years apart. If you're new, Josh got me Dakota for Christmas last year. So he just turned 1 year old and he's been a great addition to the family. Now I just opened up the dishwasher, so they are coming to see if they can get any treats. Boys, off the dishwasher, please. Thank you. I love having them with me. I was just pulling out my recipe again to make sure that I wasn't forgetting anything. And that definitely thickens up when you add those chocolate chips. I think I figured out the formula for making fudge. You heat up the sugar and the milk seems to be either regular milk, condensed milk, or evaporated milk. And then you add your chocolate and your marshmallow and your flavoring agents. And you could probably mix in whatever kind of nuts you wanted at this point when you were mixing, doing the final mix of the chocolate. Okay, our 4th fudge is done. For the peppermint fudge, it says have everything out and ready to go because it's gonna come together super quickly. I went ahead and bought, Winco is a local store to us. In their bulk section, they have a huge bulk section. I'm sure you can find it at other grocery stores, but it's basically crushed peppermints or crushed candy canes. If you need to, you can crush your own, but I knew that I'd be able to find those at the grocery store, so I have those. And then reading my recipe, it says we need 3 cups of white chocolate chips. And I already put my peppermints in here. So let's grab another bowl. I pre-measured out my crushed peppermints. So let's measure out 3 cups of white chocolate. And then it says to use name brand evaporated milk, which that's not what I bought when I went to Winco, because I didn't see the name brand. I bought the store brand because that's what they had. And luckily I did have 1 can of name brand evaporated milk in my pantry. So this is 2 cups. And this is just like the second 2-ingredient fudge that we made, except for we're gonna add the addition to the 2 ingredients, which is chocolate and 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. We're gonna add peppermint extract, and we're gonna add, seems kind of dark, still within date, so I'm gonna go with it. I was just checking the date because I probably bought this sweetened condensed milk last year. Did I say what we're gonna add? We're gonna add to the white chocolate and the evaporated sweetened condensed milk, we're gonna add peppermint candies and peppermint extract. I re-looked at that date and that milk was not in date, and it smelled fine, but the color seemed a little off. So because I'm gonna be gifting these to friends and family, I'm gonna go ahead and redo it because I would rather, yeah, I'm just gonna redo it. That's the way it goes sometimes. So if you grab something out of your pantry, before you add it to 3 cups of chocolate chips, make sure you double check your date. 3 cups of white chocolate. Now I don't have a name brand for this, but I think that other fudge that I made seemed to turn out okay. So we'll see how this goes with the Winco brand. The color on that just did not look right to me, especially compared to this one. This is very, very light. So, and we're gonna work really, really fast. So once this is melted, we need our ingredients out so we can move quickly. Into the microwave it goes. Now before I use the microwave, I am going to get my food coloring ready. Normally I buy the Watkins brand, but I did not order it in time and my grocery store does not carry it. So I have just some traditional food coloring, and I need to get this into a little container with a knife so that we can swirl this into our fudge. You could probably skip this step if you want, but I figured there's already red food coloring in this and there's red food coloring here. Again, I would normally buy the Watkins brand. Wasn't able to order in time, so we're just gonna go with what the grocery store had. I'm gonna do the same thing with this fudge as I did with the last microwave fudge. Microwave it for 45 seconds, stir it, microwave it for 45 seconds, stir. Probably do that 3 or 4 times until fully melted. Because I've used the same bowl and the same pot this whole time, just rinsed it out, I have not made very many dishes today, which has been very nice. Okay, I just added the peppermint extract. We're supposed to move really quickly here. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to mix in red food coloring to that, so I think I'm just going to add the crushed peppermint. And it called for a cup, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get a cup to stick to this, so I'm probably only putting about half, and even with that I think some of them are going to fall off when I cut it. But I do have to say that is really, really beautiful. All right, that's our 5th fudge done. That was easy. I just loaded the dishwasher with all the dishes that I made. This was by far the easiest Christmas candy baking day. I guess technically it's not baking. We haven't done any baking, but it really did not make the kitchen a disaster. Typically, when I do these big cooking days, my kitchen is just trashed. But after all that candy making, this is what it's looking like. So pretty happy with that. So we've got our Grandma Ruth's fudge, our 2-ingredient chocolate fudge, our eggnog fudge, brown butter fudge, and our peppermint fudge. I can tell that the 2 chocolate fudges are set and ready to go, that I could cut into them, but I'm gonna let them all set and I'm gonna go relax a little bit. Josh's family loves fudge. My side of the family are not fudge, we're not big fudge eaters. And so what I'm gonna do, I was going to tomorrow make 10 more easy, even easier, like easy Christmas candies. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna package up these fudges, drop these off to some, in particular, friends that I know like fudge, and every one of Josh's members of their family that lives close. And then tomorrow, I need to do some other baking for some other family things we're doing. So I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna do all these Christmas candies next week. And these will be the Christmas candies that I package up and bring to the friends that I know are not big fudge eaters and to all the members of my family. So stay tuned for that. Basically, I'm gonna go relax and rest for a little bit while those fudges set up, and then we will be back to cut into them, box them up, taste test them, and let you know how well I did on recreating Grandma Ruth's famous chocolate fudge. While I'm waiting for my fudges to set up, I'm gonna make my gift boxes. I have to remember how to make these. I bought a bulk box of these on Amazon. I can link these for you if you're interested in them. I like them because they are plain, so I can use them for any holiday. I bought like a pack of 60 or 50. So I can use them for like Valentine's Day, Christmas, birthday, whatever it might be. Always takes me a second. And then sometimes I will put like Christmas or Valentine's Day tissue paper in them, but I did not see any of that when I was at the store because I only went to Winco. So I'm just gonna use white tissue paper. But if you wanted to make it even more festive, go ahead and get some Christmas tissue paper. And I usually just like to line the box, just like that. Probably put 2, one going one direction and one going the other direction, so that there's nice tissue lining the whole box. Now, I'm not gonna put any tissue on top because I want the fudge to show through here. So I think I'm gonna make up my boxes first, and then I'll go through and line them with tissue paper. It was so incredibly special to take the time on this day to recreate Josh's late grandma's fudge. I so enjoyed it, and you're going to see in just a minute Josh is going to come down and do a taste test, and he's going to do a blind taste test, so I'm not going to tell him which fudge is which and see if he can tell which is his grandma's. But I'm just going to tell you now that when I dropped off these boxes to Josh's siblings and to Josh's mom and Josh's dad, I said, I'm not going to tell you which one is Grandma Ruth's fudge. Text me and let me know if you can tell. And everyone instantly knew which one was Grandma Ruth's fudge, and that just made me really, really happy. I also was able to get each one of Josh's siblings a copy of Josh's grandma's handwritten card, her recipe card, and then I also sent them the link of the blog post where I found it. And it was a little bit easier to follow the directions, so that if Josh's siblings or Josh's mom or Josh's dad wants to recreate Grandma Ruth's fudge, they absolutely can do that. I will definitely be making another batch of this fudge right before Christmas so that everyone can eat some of her fudge right before Christmas. We didn't grow up on my side of the family eating fudge. That wasn't a tradition, But definitely since I've met Josh, I have learned how important Grandma Ruth's fudge has always been, kind of like the staple of one of the desserts they have or treats they have at Christmas. And so I just felt really honored that I was able to recreate it, and I was able to be successful. And it was so easy. I mean, I did obviously almost mess up on her fudge twice in the beginning, but it all ended up working out in the end. And now that I've made it once, it should be much more straightforward making it again. And it was so fun to make all the other recipes too, because when I take time like this to just really dive into one particular type of treat or cuisine, whatever it might be, it always makes me so much more confident in that item. Sometimes when I set out the task to try to make a bunch of different fudges or bagels or whatever it might be, and it's not something that I'm super familiar with, after I'm done with one of these big cooking days, I am so much more comfortable with it, and then it doesn't feel as big of a task. I love cooking. It's definitely my hobby, and the more I do it, the more confident I am in it, and the more, well, I guess with confidence comes the ability to be like, oh, you know, my son requested bagels the other day. I didn't want to go to the store, and so we decided just to sit down in the kitchen together and we made bagels, and it didn't feel like this overwhelming task because I've taken the time to kind of practice some of these different skills. And there's a bunch of other things, like fudge was on the list today, but there's a bunch of other things that I would love to learn how to cook too. But next time I need to make fudge, I will just be able to get in the kitchen and I'll feel confident and we'll be able to make it, and it won't feel like a big task. It'll feel like a fun adventure. So I'm really grateful that I was able to have this opportunity for this day. And in just a second, Josh and I are going to do a full taste test of all these fudges so you can kind of see what we think. But right now, all I'm doing here is packaging up the fudges. I am cutting the ends off. I set those aside. I don't toss them. I just set them aside. And then I cut each fudge basically the same way. I cut it in half, and then I cut it in thirds, and then I can't remember how I did it, but I basically got an even number of fudge. Each of the recipes except for Ruth's made a 9x9, and so I was able to kind of make even size pieces. These are probably bigger pieces than needed to be because fudge is so rich, but like you could cut them probably in half again if you wanted to, but this seemed like a good size. So here's what 4 of the 5 fudges look like, and then you're going to see what the 6 fudge looks like in there. So we've got all 6 fudges. Josh and I are about to do a taste test. Josh just got down here. Look how cute these little boxes turned out.
Wow, those are perfect.
Do you know what I made? He's going to do a taste test.
I smell peppermint, I think, and then I know you made 2 different types of chocolate fudge.
Yep.
One of which is my grandma's.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the other 2. I feel like because maybe they had nuts or something, or...
Actually, that one got
eaten?
Vetoed because I didn't have maple extract. So I made brown butter,
okay,
eggnog, peppermint, a 2-ingredient chocolate, and your grandma's chocolate.
Brown butter?
Yep.
Interesting. Cool.
Now,
I love all these little offcuts.
Yeah, so we have lots of offcuts. So Josh and I are going to taste the offcuts. I'm not going to take one of the pretty fudges from the boxes that are going to be delivered tomorrow, not tonight. This was probably one of the easiest candy making days I've ever done. My kitchen is not a disaster, which is shocking.
It's wonderful.
Usually that's the case, and then Josh gets to clean up after. Now, do you want me to tell you which one your grandma's is, or do you want to just do a taste test and see if you can tell?
I would like to just see if I can tell, because I think I'll be able to tell.
Okay. Do you want to start with the white chocolate-based ones or the chocolate-based ones first?
The chocolate.
Okay. So eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Which one do you want to start with?
I'll start with the lighter looking one.
Okay. So a little fun fact about me, I don't actually like fudge. So I will taste them.
So weird.
Josh's family loves fudge.
Fudge is so good. I'm pretty sure that's my grandma's fudge right off the bat, but I'll have to taste the other one to make sure. It's been many years.
That does taste good. I mean, it's sweet, chocolatey. Mm-hmm. So here's another.
That seems firmer.
Okay, cheers. Much different texture.
I don't think so. Nope. That tastes like 2 ingredients. It's
You're right.
good. It's good, but it's it tastes more like just like chocolate chips versus, and it's firmer versus my grandma's that's like soft.
He's holding up.
Sorry, versus my grandma's, which is
You're
soft
absolutely
and
right.
just kind of like melts in your mouth.
You're right. Your grandma's is the first one.
Much lighter.
It has a more fudge texture. This is good, but it, like Josh said, it just tastes more like a
Chocolate chip.
yeah.
What's the other ingredient? Like milk? or
Sweet
something?
condensed milk.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. If you're going to do a 2-ingredient fudge or any of them, try to use a chocolate that you like the taste of, because especially this 2-ingredient one, the flavor's really going to come through
For sure.
because there's not as much other stuff mixing in with the flavors. Okay, so you like peppermint, don't you? Well, we probably should do
I think we
peppermint
probably
last.
end with peppermint. Yeah.
Okay, so
Get
the
rid
next
of
one
it.
we're going to do, this one is pretty soft. This is, well, you want to just taste it and tell me if you can tell which one it is?
I think you just said it already, though.
Did I?
But- Did you say like pumpkin? Wait. I know what this is.
I like the texture of this one
You know
a
what it
lot.
tastes like, though? Pretty much tastes like frosting.
It does.
Like vanilla frosting. What is it?
It's eggnog.
Eggnog, that's right. You told me that. For some reason, I just associated eggnog with pumpkin.
I actually really like that.
That's good.
It's very rich, though. You wouldn't need a big piece.
I mean, I'm definitely a chocolate fudge
Fan.
lover. Yeah.
This one is, dogs need to come back in. This is, you want to taste it and tell me if you think you can.
Well, you already told me it's brown butter.
Ooh.
You can definitely get the brown butter. That's good.
This has a much more complex flavor than the eggnog.
Yeah, because it takes a second for you to get the brown butter, but it's
You get like
Definitely brown butter.
butterscotchy almost. That's really good.
what's the difference? Butterscotch, is that like a caramel, right? And then
I think so.
but it's got to have some brown butter in it too, because it does taste like.
This is peppermint, and this is the same base as the 2-ingredient, and this is a 2-ingredient other than the fact that it just has sweetened condensed milk, white chocolate chips, and peppermint. The crunch is kind of nice. Sounds pretty good.
Tastes good.
I like that, actually. I'm just not a huge fudge fan.
I'm not a big white chocolate guy, but that's got good texture.
Yeah, the crunch on
And
that
good
is really
mintiness.
nice. And the chocolate ones, you could add walnuts. Josh is grabbing another piece of his grandma's fudge.
You don't need to put walnuts in it,
Yeah, Josh doesn't like nuts.
could.
But if
but you don't need to. Well, this looks really great. You definitely nailed my grandma's recipe.
oh, thank you.
Tastes very good. It brings me back to like
Good.
when she had her house many, many years ago, and she'd have like a bar of fudge on top of the cabinet. In the
Well,
living room.
I think last year was the only year that we didn't have her fudge. I didn't realize. So Josh's grandma had given me a ton of recipe cards 2 years ago, and I did not realize that her fudge recipe was in that until after Christmas last year. So your grandma passed away early December, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so we didn't have her fudge because no one was sure what her actual recipe was. And I thought her recipe might be in the stack of recipe cards that she gave me, and it was. So I'm really, really excited to actually go drop off this fudge to all of Josh's siblings. I think we're gonna go do that tonight. I'm not cooking dinner tonight. We did enough cooking and the kitchen is basically clean. So do you think it'd be fun to go drop these off to your siblings and your mom
Yeah.
tonight?
It'll be a lot of fun.
We're gonna go pick up some dinner. So that was so fun. So friend, thank you so much thanks Josh for being a taste tester.
Yeah.
I'll
have
get
to.
these boxed up. And your dad's in town, so we can drop these off to your
should.
dad too.
For sure. It's his mom, so.
Yeah, it's his mom.
Yeah.
So friend, I just want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching as we tried out all these fudges. I think I will just become now the fudge maker, and I'm going to give a copy. It's only 4:30, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy Josh's grandma's recipe card, and I'm going to stick one of the copies of Josh's grandma's recipe cards in each one of these boxes. So your siblings and Josh's mom and dad can have a copy of the recipe card. So thank you for being here. If you want to watch some more holiday baking, let me put some videos here. If you're new, please consider subscribing. We're going to be doing a lot more holiday baking this season. I'm grateful for you, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.